We need music.
Yeah, it would help. Hello, Facebook family. Mary Sue and I are back with another Sales Circus preview of one of our speakers. And I cannot wait to introduce you to Kim Fredrich. First of all, the name of her presentation is a winner. It's Tame the Sales Lion with a personalized outreach strategy that guarantees growth. I'm so excited already. She is the CEO of the Ventas Group. And I want her to also tell you about the Ventas Group because Kim is like my go-to gal for sales strategy and outreach. Like she knows her stuff. I love her approach and her philosophy, and I love where she's taking her business. I feel very fortunate that we have her as part of our humble event, Sales Circus, March 15th to the 19th. If you haven't gotten your ticket, this session alone is worth the price. So Kim, welcome to our
Welcome.
My goodness, that's hard to follow. You guys just made me sound like the most amazing person on earth. I'll take it though, because we're at the circus. So we need to sound like that, right?
Exactly. This is the most amazing Facebook group on earth.
It's the big top. I love it. I love it. So yes, I'm very, very, very grateful to know you two ladies. So talking about the Ventas Group, Jennifer, this actually came about partially because of you. Yes, so the very first Grit Summit that you ladies did last year, when everyone was still running around like chickens with their heads cut off, and I learned about what you were doing with your team of sparents, all working remotely, all working virtually, and I went, that's really interesting, because at the same time, what happened is I was talking to my clients. People were saying, what do? I can't sell. And I said, no, that's right. Not right now. Just call your clients. Just talk to them. Just ask them how they're doing, because we were all in such a state, right?
Yeah.
And when I did that, what I heard was so interesting. People said, well, it's really great that you've helped us feel more comfortable with sales and understand that sales is important and helped us learn how to do that better. But you know what? I still am not doing it because I have so many other things to do. I just don't have time. Can you do it for us? And I said, interesting. Maybe I can take Jennifer's sparent concept and apply that to sales. So that's what I did. What I've done is I have already built a team, and I need more actually. I am looking for experienced people who have sold before, who like having conversations, who are good listeners, good connectors, who are also interested in looking for part-time work. So I've built this team of part-time salespeople. And what we do is we sell on behalf of our clients. So we go out and we actually do that prospecting, the stuff that everybody hates. Even professional salespeople, by the way, hate prospecting. That's what we do for you. And we hand over to you qualified leads for you to have sales conversations with and close. So that brings me to the Ventas Group. It can't be Kim Fredrich anymore, because it isn't just Kim Fredrich anymore. So I needed a new name, right?
So Ventas. What does Ventas mean? Because I did look it up. I was like, I think it means sales in Spanish, right?
It does. It does. So I thought, okay, nicely done. You remember your high school Spanish. But so I loved the way it sounded and the way it connected to what I'm doing. And now I'm just working on some branding, which is coming hopefully before the Sales Circus begins. Ooh. And it's all focused on growth, because I still do that skills development for business owners. So I'm still helping business owners feel more comfortable in those sales conversations that they're having, and giving them ways to manage that conversation better so they close more business too. So it's all about growth. It's growth for the business, it's growth for the business owner, and it's all about that growth, but in a sort of a fresh way, not like, and this is where I think, Jennifer, where we connected. I'm not icky, I'm not slimy, I'm not pushy, I'm not any of that. It's about growth because we're serving and we're developing all of those kinds of good things.
Well, what I love about this is, in terms of your business, you went from solopreneur to an infrastructure that scales. So that is what I was really encouraging you to do, because you can only do so much, so much training, so much
Right.
one-on-one, so much, so many places you can be in a day. But this model allows you to grow and scale, have more impact, reach more people,
Right.
spread your message of authentic saleswomanship, whatever.
Salespersonship? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
So, Mary Sue and I talk a lot about working less and making more. And I think people always think that we're talking about making more money. And yes, we are. But we're also talking about making more impact, making more of a sustainable lifestyle where you can balance your life, with your business.
I love how you connected that, because you're right. Or I'm not there yet, I'll be honest. Right now I'm running around like crazy because I'm in that place in growth where it's happened so quickly. I haven't really got everything sort of figured out. So
I am in that same place.
You're in the same place, right? And isn't it both? It's exhilarating and terrifying all at the same time. But you're exactly right, Jennifer. That was the first time that I was able to really see that there was opportunity to take it wider and to help more people. And I'm excited to say I even have an international client now.
Wow.
Which was really kind of fun.
Well, Kim, I referred somebody to you like last week, I referred somebody to you. I don't know what it worked out, but
yeah.
I hope maybe it turns into something.
Well, and we have a Facebook user that can't see their name, but they can recommend a book about having conversations that sell. Do you happen to know about this book?
I do.
Right? Okay. All right.
I wonder who your Facebook user is. Yes, I did write a book because I really truly believe that everybody can sell. And I meet people all the time who are like, oh, I can't sell. I'm no good at selling. And I think, well, hold on. Can you have a conversation with someone? Well, yeah. And I say, well, can you have a conversation with someone you don't know? Well, that's a little harder, but yes. I say, well, that's all it is. Having a sales conversation is no different than having another conversation. And then the part that I think that we all align on is that when those conversations are about how you can serve someone, how can you help someone, then it isn't really like selling at all. It's about helping people. And it's about finding a solution for someone who's experiencing a problem. If there's not a match, it's not a match. Then you say, well, great having this conversation. I don't think this is going to work out, and you move on. And it might be, some people say, well, that's a no, and I was rejected. That's okay. There are plenty more people who do need your help. Yeah. So you just move on. And there's another really great book, other than If You Can Have a Conversation, You Can Sell. That's a good one. I recommend it. But there's another one that I really like, and it's called Selling with Noble Purpose by Lisa Earle McLeod. Let me look. Yes, Lisa Earle McLeod. I'm happy to send you the details for that if you're not able to find it before the end of our conversation. But she talks in there about what we were just saying, that when you can connect the work you're doing at solving people's problems to the impact it has on someone's life, that's truly noble. And it's really a really different way of looking at sales that I think most people don't think of sales in that regard. And when you do, it's really life-changing.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure I told this story, maybe not on a Small Business Group, but I recall always thinking, salespeople were the typical used car salesman model. And then while working at Blackboard, I was sharing my ick factor with salesmen and to a salesperson. And his name is Patrick Devlin. And he said, you are completely wrong. It's like, if you're selling at an enterprise level, we were selling enterprise software. He's like, it's a consulting engagement. It's a business strategy position. It's a relationship. He's like, if you walk in there like a used car salesman, you would never be able to make it to where I am today.
That's right.
Yeah. And I could then, the more I had experience being out with the salesperson as the techie person, I could totally see what he was talking about. And when I sell, I try to channel that kind of thinking.
Absolutely. And I can see that, Mary Sue, because you are a person who likes to help. And for you, the only way you should ever be having a sales conversation is from that perspective and that mindset. Because then for you, it's not sales. You're all about helping people. And the sale comes out of that.
Yeah.
And that connection and understanding what someone's real problem is. So, you know, and I love what he said too, because it did used to be true that you could sell that way, but not for a long time now. You know, it used to be a long time ago that the seller held all the information and the buyer didn't have any information. They needed the seller to share it with them. That doesn't happen like that anymore. Now, most of the time, somebody's researched you up, down, this way, that way, talk to referrals, blah, blah, before they even talk to you, right? It's a totally different environment. So the salesperson no longer has that kind of power. But also, if you think about it, if that's the way people were selling, how many times would you buy from someone like that?
Yeah.
Once. Once. You would never come back because the experience was maybe the product or service was not what you thought it was. The experience was unpleasant. You know, you're never going to get repeat business, which, as we all know as business owners, repeat business is worth far more than new business.
Than a single sale. That's so true. And I think I agree with you that, you know, the salespeople, you know, you don't have that power anymore because, you know, knowledge is at our fingertips. But I do think of selling as sort of educating. Like, you're an educator. You have to be an expert on your product, service offering. And I find myself relying on salespeople for education. We're thinking about getting a hot tub, right? So I don't know anything about hot tubs. There's a million different kinds of hot tubs. I don't know the difference between a $3,000 hot tub and a $15,000 hot tub.
You're like, the water's hot in a tub.
I don't know. I know nothing. So I'm going to have to go to I could look online. It's tedious. I want to go and like talk to somebody that's been selling hot tubs and knows the difference.
And can ask you about how you're planning to use it.
Yes.
What's important to you in terms of the configuration of it and the cleaning and the ease of, like, we had the same experience on a much smaller scale in that we needed to buy a new kitchen sink. We went online and we had a very specific space restriction, so that narrowed things down. But then we were looking at these options going, well, what's the difference between the 150 and the 750? Exactly like you said. And I said to my husband, I looked at him, I said, we need a salesperson. And sure, so that's exactly what we did. You know, we went to the place and said, can you explain this to us? And because as far as we could tell, the specifications were all the same. And so the difference was in something the salesperson knew, was that, well, this brand name has a better reputation, has better service, their products last longer, Well, how would we have known that?
So which one did you buy?
We bought the one that was branded. That was not the super expensive one, but the one that was cheaper. But yes, because I'm like, I don't want to buy the 150 one if the one that's like 350 or whatever we spent, I can't remember, is probably going to last as long as we live in the house, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't need to spend 750 because that's crazy. But the 350 seems, now that I understand why it's that price point compared to, and that's exactly what you're saying, Jennifer.
Yeah.
You do need a salesperson sometimes.
Salesperson, yeah.
Yes,
absolutely.
yes.
Well, so who do you serve, Kim? Because Kim has told me I am not who she serves because I sell a product, but you know, she's generally helping businesses that have service offerings. I still feel like I need to come back to her and be like, well, no, I do have services. Can you help me with that part? But
well, you're possibly right, Mary Sue. So I say that generally speaking, because products, of course, range all over, right? So what I've learned, and this is really, I'm really glad you asked that, because like all of us, we continually fine tuning, aren't we? My best client is a B2B services provider who is charging their clients on a monthly basis. That's my best client. And they're charging their clients $1,500 minimum, usually around $2,000 a month.
Okay.
So here's where it works for project base or something like you, Mary Sue, where yes, you're a product, but you are charging people on a monthly basis. So potentially that works because you're charging on a monthly basis. There's a difference between that and that single sink or that single hot tub, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Right. And same with services that come on a project basis. That needs to be at a higher level, because here's the thing, and I spent a lot of time explaining this recently, because if basically what I'm doing is saving a business owner time, right? We are going out and doing that prospecting and finding new leads. Well, that takes time. Obviously, that time costs something.
Right.
So the more that we generate for you, the more it costs, right? So that's where there has to be kind of a, like if you're selling a product that is only $150 and you want to make $10,000 a month, well, that's a lot of sales and pretty hard to do on the way I'm working, right? I'm not going to unearth people that are going to buy your $150 product making outreach. So it works much better for something which is a higher ticket item. When you're a product at like 150 or even lower, that's really more about marketing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not selling in that same traditional way. But like what you were saying about your previous job, Mary Sue, with software can be very costly. And there is a monthly fee. So yeah, maybe we should talk again.
See, I know I wear you out.
You're going to wear me down.
I would think the other advantage of like what Mary Sue has, and maybe I'm wrong about this, I was just, because it's something you can demo, like you can schedule a demo and then like close the sale on the demo, like with that warm lead. I would think that's easier than like my company, which I can't demo anything. It's just a pure service. So to me, I feel like that's maybe more challenging.
Well, see,
yours is definitely more challenging, Jennifer, because your clients, you don't know what they're going to need.
Yeah.
It might be this, or it might be that, or it could be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And so it's very difficult to ring up someone and say, so do you need this, or this? Well, right? Like how ridiculous would that be?
Yeah.
You can make some assumptions that a small business that's growing maybe needs a little support. They usually or typically need some of that and some of this and some of this, but how would you package that up in a sales conversation?
Yeah, that would have to be very strategic and
right.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, so tell us a little bit about your presentation. Again, the name is Tame the Sales Lion with a personalized outreach strategy that guarantees growth. So what is a personalized outreach strategy? And then give us a taste. So
okay. So So the most important part of the personalized part is you need to know if you have set your target at X level and your average client engagement is worth Y, then you need to know that you need this many clients in order to meet your revenue target. Then that backs up into, okay, how many sales conversations do I need to have? How many people do I need in my big pool of prospects in order to get those sales conversations? So that's the first part, because it varies greatly. Even in the conversations we've just had here about your different businesses, that's the first piece of the personalized. Then the other piece, and I know that previous GRIT presentations have really talked a lot about this, about knowing what your unique selling value is. Mm-hmm. This is so important, and it's so hard to figure out sometimes. But it's important because that's part of how you make your sales conversation personalized and more effective. Because when you start asking the questions that connect to the things that only you can do or that you do differently or better than anyone else, and you ask and you sort of have the conversation around those things so that the person you're talking to says, oh my goodness, I never realized how important that was to me. Mm-hmm. You see how that suddenly becomes a personalized sales conversation around you and your solution, but also about what is the best thing for the person you're talking to.
Because I know for my business, when I switched to offering a software product, I would focus a ton on the features. And even though that's not how I had sold my services, I would talk more about their goals, their challenges, and then how, we talk about solutions. But when I had the software, I'm like, you want to see it? Let me show you all the features and functions of it. I've had to shift back to the what are your challenges? What are your goals? And how can we help you solve them? Because I think it is a much better conversation, but it's funny.
And how has that changed the outcome for you?
Well, I think that it definitely makes the conversation more sticky in that, because if I'm just focusing on the features, my software, there are thousands of CRMs out there. So
Exactly.
the software itself is not the differentiator. And
Right.
it is, to me, the services that I offer on top of the software. And that's what I need to really get into. Just to your point, what is your unique differentiator?
Right.
And
Part of it for you, Mary Sue, is that you can assess what someone needs, and then you can focus the things that your product does on how it solves those things that they need. And you're there to help walk them through this. I have a LinkedIn connection who's been talking about why does buying software suck so much? And he's written an article, and he actually asked us last week, he was asking that question, like, why do people hate buying software? So I want to let you go look at his
I'll look at it.
I'm going to send you his article because this is what you're doing. And here's the reality. You can go online and look at your system, and that's everybody else's system. And you're like, I don't even know what I need. I don't know if that feature is important to me. I have no idea. I just know that I need this. And then you say, Mary Sue, does your system do this? Because that's what I need. And if you can answer that question, they'll be like, oh, yes, please. Right?
Right? Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you've shifted back.
Yeah, it was kind of a funny shift. But it was just, I think, my enthusiasm.
Yeah. Well, and the reality is it's always better to focus on the benefits rather than the features in any sales situation.
Right. So what, on the prospecting part, I don't totally get what that means, to be honest with you.
Okay. Sure. So prospecting is, I'm glad you asked that because I'm sure there are others who don't know what that is. Prospecting is looking for qualified leads. And if you go out to a networking event, there are 100 people there. How many of them are realistic prospects?
Right.
Right? Maybe 20%, 20 of them. How do you find them in that group of 100? It takes time. And there are things you can do to be more strategic. Like we said, you can be very highly targeted, like you said, Jennifer, about who's a good fit and who typically gets the most value from your product or service. But then you've got to go make that connection with them, and you're finding out, are they experiencing that problem? Is there anybody helping them with it right now? If there is, are they happy with that person? And when does that contract finish? That's what prospecting is. It's the beginning of a relationship. It's kind of sort of that qualifying and making the initial connection and, finding out, is this even a legitimate person to pursue?
Now, I know you're a fan of calling. Is that your go-to approach? Like, if somebody was like DIYing their outreach, like, would you tell them to pick up the phone and try to figure out, like, I think the hard part is, I know, and nobody likes doing this, but I mean, to me, I'm like, well, how do I know if I'm talking to the right person? And I'm sure you ask. Because I know when I had an office, like in an office building in my early business, like, you didn't get me on the phone. Like, I had people, like, it sounds much more shishy than it is. But I mean, I had like layers of people before you could ever get to me. And people every day were calling, trying to, like, right? So nobody ever got through because it was clearly a sales call. And I was like, I don't need anything. I'm not searching for, this person.
And that's exactly what prospecting is for. Is this business experiencing this problem right now? And if they're saying, no, I don't need anything, then the answer is no.
And you just move on.
You move on. Or you say something like, well, that's great, thank you. And then you say, would it be okay if I contact you again in name your time? Or would it be okay if I occasionally send you something from time to time, or whatever? You have a fallback. Yes, I do believe in picking up the phone, because when you do connect with the right person, or even when you get a gatekeeper, they can often share really valuable information with you.
Well, that was going to be my question. Does anyone ever really say, well, yeah, I do have that problem, or I don't have this problem, but I have that problem? And you're like, because I'm totally like, take me off your list, bye, click.
Right. Well, and that does happen. I mean, I do get people who hang up on me. I do get people who say, no, I'm not interested, but it also is in how you come across. So this is also part of what I'm going to talk about in Taming the Lion. You can't sound like you're making a sales call. It needs to sound like a conversation. And you need to come up right away with something of value. Like you can't just say, so I'm calling from, do you ever hire virtual assistants? Well, actually, you could ask that, Jennifer. And if the answer is no, then you say, oh, that's interesting. And how are you managing things now? And they might tell you, they might not. And they might say, I can't talk right now. And you say, okay, is there a better time? And then you call them when they tell you.
If you're too busy for this call, you might need a virtual.
Exactly. And the thing is, the more you can actually connect with a real person, the more information you get. Some people are jerks. It's true. And some people are jerks just because you called them at the wrong time because their boss just chewed them out or they're on a deadline or whatever. You call them again in a month and it's totally different. The reality is we're all in business. We all need to find clients. We all need to buy services and products. So there are all times when we need a salesperson, as we were talking earlier with sinks and hot tubs. It's part of what happens. Now, we've also all experienced terrible salespeople on the other end of the phone. So the idea here is to not be that person.
Not be that person.
No.
And even though I don't want to make the phone calls, I do, and I'm making fun that I am terrible at answering them, but I do believe in having different channels to access people. I mean, it goes
100%. So I don't just stop at phone calls. So, there's a combination of things. It's calling and it's emailing and it's providing something of value. Then it's calling again. And sometimes even LinkedIn gets involved. Sometimes we use video, all of these things, because again, though, you've got to believe that you really can provide value to this person. And eventually you say, all right, hey, we haven't connected. That could be because this just isn't a priority for you. That's cool. Just let me know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And there's got to be some, like a law of averages, right? If you go to bat so many times, you're eventually successful. So you really have to know the value of a prospect to you.
You do. And what's really interesting with the clients I've worked with is sometimes it takes a little while because in the first instance, they'll say, well, we haven't decided what we're doing yet, but we're working on this. And can you call me again in, March? So you call them in March and you learn some more. And so it takes a little while. But meanwhile, you've kept up that relationship.
Right.
Where somebody else might not have. So when they are ready, who are they going to call?
You.
Right.
Yes. Well, and this goes to that whole model where they're saying it's 7 to 12 or 20 touches before you make a sale. And that's what your team does for.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That's nice.
I think that's such a great idea for a service offering. It's just incredible. And in fact, the lady that I referred to you, she came to Spirit looking for that. And I was like, I think we can to some degree help you. I was like, but I actually want to give you another option because, I have somebody that this is all she does. So she, she specializes in this thing. I want you to have a conversation with her.
Yeah.
And weigh your options because, if she lands a client, it's worth tens of thousands of dollars to her. So it's like, we might need somebody that's knows what the heck they're doing.
Right. Well, and also, like you said, Jennifer, when you're a business owner, there's so many things going on. If sales is not in your wheelhouse, really, isn't it better to pass it over to someone whose wheelhouse it is? And then you focus on where, this is a conversation even I've had with a strategist recently, which is, what is the best use of my time? Where can my time produce the most value for my business? And this is why I'm busy hiring people too, because it's not in chasing down financial things or even paying bills or anything like that. It's in selling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Well, I'm really looking forward to your talk and digging into this topic more because it's an area that I have a major phobia about for some reason.
Yeah, you need the Kim super special treatment.
Yeah.
We're going to get you sorted out.
We to do something about sales phobia. I feel like there's another like webinar or something that has phobia as a
well,
type.
and you know, I'm so totally going to talk about that in my presentation. I'm going to talk about how can you, I'm going to talk about what you need to do before you start to make any kind of cold outreach or even warmish outreach. I'm going to talk about that because there are things you need to do.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you have, it says effortless ways to get into the sales mindset.
Well, there might be a little effort involved, but it should be fun. Okay.
Look at your bank account balance. Get motivated.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and we that day is going to be awesome. We're starting off with from sideshow to big top, so a kind of collaborative networking type event, and we'll be masterminding, and it is more on the mindset around sales. So thinking bigger. Then we're going to have your talk. I thought my talk about, tame your leads with the CRM would go because right after that, Kim's going to create tons of leads. You have to have somewhere to put them.
Yes,
so
you do.
so you can follow up. And then later in the day, we're going to have Carlin Ankrum come and talk about, I can't remember the name of it because she just updated it, but it will be awesome. It's a social media focused.
Freedom, funnel cakes, and funds.
Yes.
That's
I love it.
Strategic collaborative. That's just one day. That's
One
just
day.
one day.
And I mean, I always learn stuff every time I attend your guys' things. I learned something from Carlin the last time. So yes, there's definitely stuff to learn.
Yeah, that because I learn every time too. I mean, really, Mary Sue and I are business owners, so we put together an event that we're going to learn from and that we can benefit from, and everyone else can too. So yeah, it's a great week. I can't wait.
Yes,
sounds awesome. I can't wait either. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing everything with us. I'm feeling very motivated to sell.
Good. Oh well, I can't wait either. But so I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And it'll be fun. I'm going to have to get some circus related clothing because,
I what? I need to get a top hat. I have not gotten that. I've got my
ooh, that's a good one.
Jacket.
Oh, I'm going to have to figure this out. I've got a fringy thing, and that might be a little crazy, but anyway, it's great talking to you both.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, bye.